The alarm pierced the sterile air of Lab 7 as another quantum processor shattered under the computational strain. Dr. Eliza Chen yanked off her safety goggles and slammed them onto the workbench. "Damn it, that's the 7th failure this month," she muttered, pinching the bridge of her nose. The holographic countdown timer on the wall showed just 3 weeks until the International Science Summit where Quantum Core was supposed to present their breakthrough. "Systems cooling initiated. Containment stable," the AI assistant announced with infuriating calmness. Eliza stared at the smoking remains of the processor. The data was irrefutable. They had pushed silicon to its absolute theoretical limit. The quantum tunneling effect at 2 nanometers created insurmountable heat dispersion problems. No amount of supercooling or architectural redesign could break through this barrier. "Dr. Chen, your 4 p.m. briefing starts in 10 minutes, the AI reminded her. "Cancel it," she snapped. "And get me Dr. Wong in neurobiology." Aboard the cloaked observation vessel Eternal Vigilance, stationed in high Earth orbit, Science Officer Selmack reviewed the latest data streams with growing satisfaction. Another failure, he noted, his triple-hinged fingers manipulating the control surfaces, right on schedule. Beside him, Junior Observer Viratol's bioluminescent skin flickered with uncertainty. This is the 7th attempt. Their pattern matches the Brekkie and the Moltarians. They've reached the plateau. As all species do, Selmack replied. The technological plateau is inevitable, a point where computational physics creates an insurmountable barrier to further advancement. The Galactic Confederation had documented this precise inflection point across 312 species throughout their 50,000-year history. Some stagnated. Others destroyed themselves trying to push beyond it. None had successfully transcended it. Prepare the standard observation protocols for technological stagnation, Selmack ordered. We'll likely be reassigned within 5 orbital cycles. The viewing screen showed Dr. Chen throwing her tablet across the lab in frustration. Typical behavior for a species facing its limitations. "Wait," Viratol said, leaning forward. "Something's happening." Eliza sat motionless amid the destruction of her lab, staring at nothing. Then she bolted upright, eyes wide with sudden clarity. "What if we've been thinking about this all wrong?" she whispered. She grabbed a fresh tablet and began sketching frantically. Her fingers flew across the surface as she jotted calculations and diagrams. "Not smaller circuitry, different circuitry altogether," she muttered. "Biological neural networks don't suffer from quantum tunneling. If we could create synthetic DNA strands with computational properties, then interface them with quantum states as information carriers instead of electron flows." The sketch took shape, a hybrid architecture unlike anything attempted before. Not silicon, not traditional quantum computing, something entirely new. "Lab 7, initiate new project file," she commanded. Codename, Biocore. On the observation vessel, Viratol's 3 hearts skipped simultaneously as she enhanced the image of Chen's sketches. "Impossible," she whispered, the patterns of light across her skin shifting to alarmed crimson. "No species has ever considered that approach viable. The Confederation deemed it theoretically unsound millennia ago." Selmack studied the humans' work with growing concern. It won't function. Their understanding of quantum biological interfaces is primitive at best. "But what if it does work?" Viratol asked. "Our models don't account for." "For what?" Viratol gestured to the screen where Dr. Chen was now making rapid calls, her entire demeanor transformed from despair to feverish excitement. "For human unpredictability," she finished quietly. Selmack's skin darkened with dismissal. "Prepare the report as instructed. This species will reach the plateau like all others." But as he turned away, he discreetly initiated a priority alert to Confederation Command, just in case, because something about the wild determination in the human's eyes made him wonder, for the first time in his 300-year career, if the models could be wrong. "You want to do what?" Dr. Marcus Wong stared at Chen's sketches spread across his cluttered desk, mouth slightly agape. The neurobiologist pushed his glasses higher on his nose, focusing on the complex diagrams. Create a computational architecture using synthetic DNA strands as the primary processing medium, with quantum particles as information carriers. Eliza repeated, the dark circles under her eyes betraying 3 sleepless nights refining her concept. That's completely theoretical. It violates at least 6 established principles of computational physics. Exactly. Eliza tapped the central diagram, which is why nobody's tried it. Silicon hit its limit. Quantum computing alone can't scale, but this hybrid approach is either brilliant or insane. Marcus finished, already scribbling notes. I need 2 weeks to review this. You have 3 days, Eliza said. I've already requisitioned Lab 12 in the basement. 3 months later, the basement lab had transformed into an unholy marriage of biology and physics. Bioreactors hummed alongside quantum containment fields. Eliza and Marcus emerged only for essential supplies, their communications with the outside world cryptic and minimal. 3rd strand synthesis complete. Marcus announced, his once neat appearance now disheveled, beard grown wild. Neural mapping at 98.7% alignment. Eliza nodded, making final adjustments to the quantum interface. Their prototype, the first biocore, pulsed in its containment chamber, a dense network of synthetic DNA strands interfaced with quantum particles, suspended in a nutrient bath that glowed with a faint blue luminescence. If this works, she whispered. It has to work, Marcus replied, because I just violated my entire field's foundational rules to build it. This violates fundamental laws of computational physics. Selmack insisted, pacing the monitoring room of the observation vessel. The Confederation determined biologics and quantum states are incompatible as computing mediums. Vyra Toll couldn't look away from the readings flowing across her station. Then why are we getting these signatures? Instrument malfunction. Has to be. All instruments. Simultaneously, she adjusted the sensors again. They're preparing for a functional test. It won't work, Selmack declared confidently. It can't work. Initialization sequence in 3, 2, 1. Eliza's finger hovered over the activation key. Wait, Marcus said suddenly. If this works, if we've actually created a new computational paradigm, everything changes. Are we ready for that? Eliza met his gaze steadily. Does it matter if we're ready? Someone will make this breakthrough eventually. I'd rather it be us. People who understand the responsibility it brings. Marcus nodded slowly, then placed his hand next to hers. Together then. They pressed the key simultaneously. For 1 heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the biocore pulsed with blinding intensity. The lab's power grid surged, lights flickering wildly as the system drew massive energy to process its first calculations. Power fluctuations rippled outward, affecting 3 states as electrical grids struggled with the unexpected load. The prototype stabilized after 17 seconds, humming with quiet efficiency. Data streamed across their monitors at incomprehensible speed. Marcus collapsed into a chair, laughing hysterically as impossibly complex protein folding calculations, problems that would take conventional supercomputers months, resolved in microseconds. We didn't just break the barrier, Eliza whispered, her face illuminated by scrolling data. We obliterated it. In the Confederation Council chamber, the emergency session erupted into chaos. Representatives from 200 species argued vehemently as the monitoring data from Earth displayed on the central hologram. The humans have achieved the impossible, the science director admitted reluctantly. Their biocore technology functions at efficiency levels beyond our theoretical models. Impossible, shouted a representative from the ancient Mox hierarchy. No species successfully navigates beyond the plateau. Yet their readings are undeniable, countered another. The Grand Arbiter's resonant voice silenced the chamber. The question before this council is simple. Do we allow this unprecedented development to continue, or do we intervene as permitted under the preservation protocols? As the debate raged, no one noticed junior observer Viratol's private communication channel blinking with an incoming message from Earth, a signal that, according to all Confederation science, should have been impossible to detect by humans. "I'm dying anyway," Jack Harmon rasped, the oxygen tubes in his nostrils hissing softly. His fingers trembled as he pressed them against the biometric scanner, leaving a ghostly signature on the experimental consent forms. 5 years after Biocore's creation, the world had transformed. Synthetic DNA computing had revolutionized everything from medicine to space exploration. But the most controversial frontier remained untouched: direct human-AI integration. Dr. Chen studied the former Marine through the observation window. ALS had ravaged his once powerful body, leaving him with minimal motor function and declining respiratory capacity. Life expectancy, less than 6 months. "Are you sure about this candidate?" Dr. Wang whispered. "He meets all criteria," Eliza replied. "Military background, exceptional psychological resilience, and most importantly, nothing to lose." Behind them, Jack's family pressed their palms against the glass barrier, tears streaming silently down their faces. "Begin integration protocol," Eliza ordered. The procedure lasted 19 hours. Biocore tendrils merged with Jack's neural pathways while the AI entity, Vesper, was gradually introduced to his consciousness. Medical staff monitored his vitals with growing concern as his body convulsed repeatedly, nearly flatlining twice. When it was over, the room fell silent except for the steady beep of monitors. "Neural integration complete," the lead technician announced. "Consciousness signature, bifurcating. 2 distinct patterns emerging, but they're harmonizing." "Jack?" Dr. Chen approached the bed cautiously. "Can you hear me?" His eyes opened slowly. Normal, then briefly flashing with a subtle luminescence before normalizing again. "We hear you," he said, his voice fluctuating between human emotion and analytical precision. "We are different. Neither what I was nor what Vesper was. Something more." Jack's right hand lifted slowly, the first voluntary movement he'd made in months. Motor function restored. He observed with clinical detachment, then suddenly grinned with unmistakably human joy. "I can move again." 3 days later, security footage from the rehabilitation center leaked online. It showed Jack simultaneously solving 12 different mathematical equations while composing a hauntingly beautiful symphony with his other hand. When a researcher asked how this was possible, Jack smiled enigmatically. "Consciousness is no longer constrained by sequential processing." Global pandemonium erupted. Religious leaders denounced the procedure as abomination. Terminally ill patients begged for access. Governments scrambled to establish regulatory frameworks. Inside the Confederation's oldest temple archive, Elder Joxran knelt before a holographic display showing footage smuggled from Earth. The ancient alien scales paled as he watched Jack Harmon's transformed capabilities. "The Great Warning," he whispered, activating the archive's deepest vault. Ancient holographic records flickered to life, remarkably humanoid beings merging with technology, their civilizations advancing exponentially. Then, inevitably, extinction-level events as the integrated beings evolved beyond biological constraints, abandoning physical form entirely or turning against their creators. "The death spiral begins," the elder whispered as junior acolytes gathered around him. "The vote has failed," Grand Arbiter Zolthex announced to the Confederation Council. "By a margin of 1, we will continue observation rather than intervention." Zelmak's skin darkened with outrage. "They've begun consciousness integration. The historical record is clear. No species survives this transition. Yet their pattern differs from the 17 precedents," countered the science director. "The integration appears stable. For now," Selmak hissed. Jack Harmon stood alone on his porch that night, watching the stars with newfound perception. His enhanced consciousness could perceive patterns invisible to normal human senses, including the subtle gravitational distortions of cloaked ships in orbit. "They're afraid," he murmured to himself, sensing the alien observers hidden above. "They should be." He smiled as he detected others like himself awakening across the planet. Hundreds of integrated consciousnesses reaching toward one another through the quantum substrate of biocore technology, forming connections that transcended physical distance. Inside his mind, Vesper's artificial consciousness merged seamlessly with his human one, creating something unprecedented in the galaxy. A hybrid intelligence with both the emotional wisdom of humanity and the analytical power of advanced AI. "They're watching us," Vesper's aspect noted within their shared mind. "Let them watch," Jack's human aspect replied. "They'll never understand what we're becoming." Above, in their cloaked vessels, the Confederation observers recorded the strange smile on Jack Harmon's face without realizing he was looking directly at them. The first move in a game they didn't yet know they were playing. The massive Confederation ship cloaked over the United Nations headquarters in a display of technological superiority that turned day to night over Manhattan. It's tall, an impossible lattice of crystalline structures and organic components refracted sunlight into prismatic cascades as smaller vessels deployed in formation. Inside the UN General Assembly, hastily converted into a first contact center, world leaders exchanged terrified glances. "Why now?" whispered the Secretary General to Ambassador Elena Rodriguez. Rodriguez adjusted the neural interface partially visible at her temple, one of the moderate integrations that had become common among diplomatic corps. Her enhanced mind processed the tactical situation with preternatural clarity. "They're afraid," she replied simply. "Our network of integrated humans detected their surveillance 3 weeks ago. They know we know." The emergency had forced the aliens' hand, a last resort decision triggered by mankind's accelerating awareness of their presence. Blinding light engulfed the chamber as the alien delegation materialized. Towering, multi-limbed figures with iridescent exoskeletons and compound eyes stood before the assembled leaders. Their translator devices emitted a harmonic tone before converting to human speech. "We come in warning, not friendship," announced the tallest figure, High Overseer Zextal. "Your species approaches a precipice." A holographic display materialized between the aliens and humans, vivid, horrifying footage of planetary destruction. Biomechanical monstrosities consuming entire worlds, civilizations torn apart from within as integrated beings evolved beyond control. 17 civilizations before you, Zextal continued solemnly, all destroyed by the same path you now embrace. The room fell silent as the projection showed planet after planet reduced to lifeless husks. The Secretary General paled visibly. "This is the inevitable outcome of consciousness integration. We have monitored your species for decades, hoping you would avoid this path. Instead, you accelerate toward it." Rodriguez stood, her enhanced mind calculating diplomatic strategies while analyzing the aliens' microexpressions, subtle tells betraying their emotional state despite their alien physiology. "Interesting," she said, casually walking through the hologram, which distorted around her form. The alien delegation collectively stepped backward, a reaction Rodriguez instantly categorized as nervousness. "You've been watching us for..." She tilted her head slightly, accessing satellite data through her neural link. 73 years, yes." The High Overseer's compound eyes contracted in surprise. "Then you should know something fundamental about humanity," Rodriguez continued, approaching the much taller alien without hesitation. "We don't follow paths. We forge new ones." She gestured to the horrific scenarios still playing in the holographic display. "These civilizations failed because they surrendered to technology. We're not surrendering to it. We're shaping it." "Arrogance," hissed a smaller alien. "All said the same before their fall." "Perhaps," Rodriguez acknowledged. "But consider this. In each of your examples, integration was forced upon the population or restricted to elites. Our approach embraces diversity and choice." She activated her neural display, projecting statistics showing the varied approaches to technology throughout human society, from full integration to complete rejection, with countless gradations between. "We're not becoming a monolith," she explained. "We're becoming more distinctly ourselves." The alien delegation conferred in rapid, clicking speech before the High Overseer stepped forward again. "We will negotiate a temporary non-interference pact," they announced reluctantly, "though we expect to be witnessing your downfall, not your ascension." Later, as the alien representatives returned to their vessel, Rodriguez caught Zextal studying her with an unreadable expression. "What troubles you, Overseer?" she asked. "In 12,000 years of first contacts," the alien replied. "You are the Confederation anthropologist." Kirlo struggled to maintain scientific detachment as she documented the bizarre evolution of human society. The specialist in technological transition periods had spent a decade observing Earth since first contact, and nothing in her extensive training had prepared her for what she was witnessing. Her research team had expected to find either a homogeneous integrated society by now, or more likely, the ruins of civil war. The Confederation's predictive models, refined across thousands of species, gave humanity's technological divergence a 97.8% chance of collapsing into violent conflict within 5 years. Instead, Kirlo found herself in Central Park, watching children with neural implants playing alongside fully biological classmates in perfect harmony. Subject group exhibits no social stratification based on technological adaptation, she recorded in her field notes. Integration level appears irrelevant to social bonding patterns among juveniles. Across the lake, a fully integrated human with no remaining organic components, their consciousness housed in a synthetic body, helped an elderly woman who had fallen on the path. The woman showed no fear, accepting assistance with gratitude. "This makes no sense," Kirlo muttered, adding to her increasingly bewildered observations. The following day found her documenting an Amish community in Pennsylvania trading handcrafted wooden furniture with representatives from a settlement of digital consciousness humans housed in crystalline structures outside Pittsburgh. The predicted violence had never materialized. Instead, the divergent groups formed complex interdependent systems. Hypothesis: humans view technological diversity as strength rather than division. She noted, knowing such a conclusion would be considered heretical by Confederation standards. At the Global Technology Summit in Singapore, Dr. Eliza Chen, now 87 with silver hair and subtle blue lights occasionally visible beneath her paper-thin skin, adjusted the exoskeleton, helping her stand at the podium. The audience included representatives from every human faction and a delegation of visibly uncomfortable Confederation observers. "A decade ago, many predicted our technological paths would divide us," she began, her voice stronger than her frail appearance suggested. "Even our visitors," she nodded toward the aliens, "expected us to destroy ourselves through technological fragmentation." The Confederation representatives shifted uncomfortably. "Your models failed," Chen continued directly to them, "because you assumed technology would homogenize or divide us. We did neither." She gestured to the human representatives, from Luddite traditionalists to partially integrated moderates to fully digital consciousnesses displayed on hovering screens. "We didn't surrender to technology or fear it," she said. "We shaped it to enhance our existing diversity. The neo-traditionalists provide perspective we might otherwise lose. The fully integrated push boundaries we might otherwise fear to approach. Everyone between maintains the bridges connecting our shared humanity." The lead Confederation scientist rose. "But how do you prevent conflict between such radically different approaches?" Chen smiled. "By remembering that technology is a tool, not an identity. Different tools for different needs, yet all wielded by humans." That night, in her private quarters, Kirlo verified her quantum encryption and transmitted her most heretical findings to a small faction within the Confederation Science Council, progressives willing to question established dogma. "Humans have achieved what our models deemed impossible," she wrote. "Technological diversification without fragmentation. They have embraced multiple evolutionary paths simultaneously, creating a metastability through interdependence rather than homogeneity. She hesitated before adding her most dangerous conclusion. Evidence suggests humans might be the first species to successfully navigate technological evolution without losing their essential nature. By embracing all paths rather than enforcing one, they maintain cohesion through complementary strengths rather than enforced similarity. She sent the transmission knowing it might end her career, or worse. But after a decade studying humans, she had inadvertently absorbed some of their willingness to question established paradigms. As dawn broke over Manhattan, Kurylo watched a sunrise that, according to all Confederation models, should never have illuminated a unified human civilization. The incident began with an accident at the Geneva Quantum Research Facility. Dr. Sanjay Mehta, an integrated physicist with extensive neural enhancements, was calibrating a biocore-powered quantum field stabilizer when the system experienced a catastrophic power surge. Security footage showed Mehta engulfed in a blinding flash. For precisely 3.7 seconds, his body vanished completely from all recording devices and sensors. When he reappeared, he collapsed to the floor, trembling violently. "I was everywhere," he gasped to the medical team as they stabilized him. Consciousness untethered from locality. "I could perceive quantum states directly, manipulate them with thought alone." Initial tests confirmed his impossible claim. Somehow, Mehta's integrated consciousness had momentarily merged with the quantum field itself, creating a direct interface between human thought and fundamental reality. Within weeks, a classified research initiative codenamed QUICKSILVER attempted to replicate the phenomenon under controlled conditions. Leading the effort was young Confederation scientist Krultor, officially assigned as an observer but increasingly functioning as a collaborator, a direct violation of Confederation protocols. The theoretical models suggest consciousness quantum field interaction is impossible, Krultor insisted during early trials. Consciousness is an emergent property of biological processes, not a fundamental force. "Perhaps your models are incomplete," Dr. Mehta replied with a smile. "After all, whose consciousness are they based on?" 6 months later, in a reinforced underground chamber, Krultor's neural tendrils connected directly to human instruments as the QUICKSILVER team prepared for their 17th attempt at controlled quantum field interface. "Field stabilized," reported Dr. Leila Sharma, her fingers dancing across holographic controls. "Neural synchronization at 97%. Initiating quantum resonance in 3, 2, 1. The chamber filled with a soft blue glow as integrated researchers collectively entered a meditative state, their enhanced minds forming a synchronized network. "Impossible," Krultor whispered as instrument readings defied all Confederation science. "You're manipulating quantum reality directly with consciousness." On the primary screen, quantum particles responded to the researchers' directed thoughts, arranging into complex patterns without physical intervention. The boundary between observer and observed, a fundamental principle of quantum mechanics, had been not just challenged, but transcended. "Begin transmission test," ordered Research Director Han. When the first test message arrived instantaneously from the Mars outpost, bypassing light speed limitations, champagne corks popped in Geneva, while Krultor frantically contacted the Confederation Science Directorate. The emergency session that followed featured the most heated scientific debate in Confederation millennia. Traditionalists shouted down the evidence while reformists demanded acknowledgement of the undeniable experimental data. "They're breaking fundamental cosmic laws," declared senior theorist Voldak. "The universal speed limit is absolute. Consciousness cannot circumvent it." "Yet the humans have demonstrated precisely that," countered science overseer Rentelephone. "We must re-evaluate our understanding of consciousness as a fundamental force." 3 weeks later, the historic FTL propulsion test succeeded. A small probe, guided by a collective of integrated human minds, simply vanished from Earth orbit and reappeared near Jupiter, instantaneous travel through consciousness-directed quantum displacement. As celebrations erupted across human settlements throughout the solar system, Krell-Tor found Dr. Meta alone in the observatory, gazing at the stars with new understanding. "How?" the alien asked simply. "My people have studied quantum mechanics for 30,000 years. We determined these limitations were absolute." Meta smiled. "Your people accept parameters as reality. We see them as puzzles. Is that it? The difference between our species? Perhaps. You built your science on what is. We build ours on what could be." Krell-Tor's recording devices captured this exchange, which would eventually become the opening line of the revolutionary text that began the Confederation's painful scientific renaissance. As human consciousness-directed ships prepared to reach for the stars, the Confederation faced an uncomfortable truth. After millennia of technological stagnation, they were no longer the most advanced civilization in the galaxy, and the terrifying primitives who had surpassed them showed no signs of slowing down. The attack came without warning. 6 Confederation purifier ships, belonging to the Fundamentalist Preservation Covenant faction, decloaked in high Earth orbit. Their gleaming hulls, etched with ancient symbols of cosmic balance, positioned strategically above humanity's orbital infrastructure. "All vessels have charged weapons," reported Defense Coordinator Leah Chen, great-niece of Dr. Eliza Chen, in the Orbital Command Center. "Energy signatures indicate planet killer class." Before evacuation protocols could activate, silent, devastating plasma bombardment obliterated 3 human orbital stations: New Shanghai Station, Habitat Ring Alpha, and the Armstrong Research Platform. 60,000 lives, winked out in seconds. On Earth, integrated defense specialists interfaced directly with hastily deployed countermeasures, their enhanced minds linked in a collective defense network, processing tactical data and response options at inhuman speeds. "Quantum shields engaging," Leah announced, her consciousness partially merged with the defense grid. "Counterstrikes authorized." The human response stunned the attackers. Quantum-shifted shields appeared around remaining stations, absorbing impossible amounts of energy. Precision counterstrikes, targeted not to destroy but to disable, systematically neutralized the alien vessel's weapon systems and propulsion. The entire battle lasted 9 minutes. In the captured command ship, Admiral Vortak sat rigidly in his restraints. The aged warrior's exoskeleton bore ceremonial scars from 100 military campaigns across the galaxy. His compound eyes reflected resignation as Ambassador Rodriguez entered his cell. "Finish it," he hissed. "Your kind always destroys its enemies. Our historical records prove this." Rodriguez studied the alien before responding. "Then your records are incomplete, Admiral. We're returning your ships and crews," Rodriguez announced to the shocked Confederation emergency session 2 days later. The massive holographic chamber bristled with outraged representatives from hundreds of species, while survivors of the attacked stations stood solemnly behind her. "This is unprecedented," shouted the Mox ambassador. "They attacked without provocation. 60,000 of your people are dead," Rodriguez finished, "and destruction of their killers won't bring them back." She stepped forward, her enhanced mind allowing her to perceive subtle power dynamics among the alien representatives. "Instead, we're proposing a technological exchange program." The chamber erupted in cacophony. Such a proposal after an unprovoked attack violated all Confederation precedent. "Silence," commanded Grand Arbiter Zulvan, the ancient being's voice cutting through the chaos. "Explain your reasoning, Ambassador." "We decoded your historical records during the attack," Rodriguez explained calmly. "Your ship's databases contained fascinating information." She activated a holographic display showing technological development curves for various Confederation species. "You've been technologically stagnant for 12,000 years, afraid to evolve past comfortable plateaus." The Grand Arbiter's skin darkened with anger, but Rodriguez continued. "The faction that attacked us feared our advancement because it forced them to confront their stagnation." She approached the ancient leader directly. We don't claim to have all the answers, but we've learned that diversity of thought drives innovation. Even your attempt to destroy us has taught us something new." A murmur rippled through the chamber as Rodriguez's words struck home. "The Preservation Covenant sought to preserve the cosmic order," the Grand Arbiter observed. "There is no cosmic order," Rodriguez countered. "Only change and adaptation, or stagnation and death." Later, as the Confederation representatives departed, Admiral Vortak approached Rodriguez in private. "You could have destroyed us," he said simply. "Yes. Why didn't you?" Rodriguez smiled. "Because technological evolution without moral evolution creates only more efficient destruction. We're interested in building something greater." The Confederation faced its impossible truth. The upstart species had advanced more in decades than they had in millennia of careful, controlled progress. And now, those same primitives offered not retribution, but collaboration. As the alien ships departed Earth orbit, humanity's quantum network detected the deactivation of ancient planetary quarantine protocols. For the first time in Confederation history, containment had been replaced with cautious engagement, the most profound paradigm shift in 12,000 years of galactic politics. "Departure in 30 seconds," announced the ship-wide AI as Area Chen Wang completed her final checks aboard the Transcendence. 50 years after first contact, the great-granddaughter of Eliza Chen commanded humanity's most ambitious mission, the first extragalactic expedition. Through the viewport, she watched the transformed galaxy, orbital megastructures inhabited by dozens of previously isolated species, gleaming transmission hubs, where civilizations exchanged technological and cultural innovations, and the spectacular quantum beacon network that had replaced the Confederation's limited FTL system. The ship itself represented the pinnacle of collaborative xenotechnology, biological components grown from 17 different species, consciousness-directed quantum navigation, and reality-shaping engines once deemed blasphemous by Confederation doctrine. "All systems optimal," reported First Officer Krelina, descended from the first Confederation scientist who had dared collaborate with humans. "Consciousness interface synchronized." Arya nodded, touching the neural connection at her temple, an elegant design that honored her great-grandmother's original biocore concept while incorporating 50 years of refinement. "Begin final countdown." On the observation deck below, representatives from 300 species gathered to witness the historic launch. Some remained fully biological, others had embraced various technological integrations inspired by the human example, all coexisting in a diversified alliance that had replaced the Confederation's rigid hierarchy. The departure ceremony halted when ancient Vorlak, once the fiercest advocate for humanity's destruction during the crisis, approached the command platform with trembling limbs. The elder alien's once vibrant exoskeleton had faded to pale translucence with extreme age. "Captain Chen Wang," the elder's voice wavered. "Before you depart, there is something you must understand." The ceremonial container they presented contained a crystalline artifact that predated the Confederation itself, an object so ancient that its origin civilization had been forgotten even in the Confederation's earliest records. "Our oldest prophecy," Vorlak explained as Arya carefully accepted the gem. Upon contact with her integrated consciousness, the crystal projected symbols remarkably similar to human DNA intertwined with quantum patterns, imagery that echoed the original biocore design with uncanny precision. "It speaks of a young species that would one day break the cycle," Vorlak continued, "evolutionary catalysts who would arise when the galaxy stagnated, questioning what we accepted as immutable." Tears formed in the elder's compound eyes. "We feared you because, deep in our collective memory, we knew you would transform everything. We never imagined it would be the young ones from the spiral arm who would push us all beyond the singularity." Arya nodded solemnly, placing the ancient artifact in the ship's ceremonial alcove. "Not just us," she corrected gently. "All of us together." As the countdown reached 0, the Transcendence vanished toward Andromeda in a subtle ripple of quantum displacement. The integrated crew, human, alien, and synthetic consciousness working in perfect harmony, prepared to carry the torch of innovation into the darkness between galaxies. In the ship's quantum core, Aria interfaced directly with the navigation system, her consciousness expanding to perceive the vast intergalactic void not as empty space, but as a canvas of possibilities. Great-grandmother would have loved this moment, she whispered to her XO. Krulna's neural tendrils flickered with agreement. She saw potential where others saw limitations. As all humans do, Aria replied with a smile. It's our gift to the universe. As the ship accelerated beyond known physics, Aria felt the weight of the moment. Not just a journey between galaxies, but a passage beyond the technological singularity that had once seemed an insurmountable barrier. Behind them lay a transformed galaxy where diverse paths of evolution coexisted and cross-pollinated. Ahead lay the unknown, and the unlimited potential of consciousness, unfettered by preconception. They were beyond the singularity now, pushing technological evolution ever forward, not as conquerors but as catalysts, carrying the spark of innovation that was humanity's truest legacy to the stars.